Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a game you never signed up for? A game where the rules are constantly shifting, where you're always the one apologizing, always the one compromising, while the other person is always right. And that's exactly what it feels like when dealing with a narcissist. They project an aura of invincibility, confident, powerful, as if nothing can touch them. They manipulate you so subtly that you start doubting yourself, believing that they are smarter, stronger, and superior to you. But today, I'm here to tell you an important truth. They are not as strong as they want you to believe. Behind that flawless exterior are cracks, deep vulnerabilities they will do anything to hide. They construct an illusion where they are the center of the universe, the ones who always win. But the reality is, if that illusion shatters, they crumble completely. They don't want you to know that they are far more fragile than they appear. They don't want you to realize that they are trapped in the very web of lies they've spun. And above all, they live in constant fear of losing control. Because if they can't manipulate you, they lose the very thing that sustains them: attention and validation. Does any of this sound familiar? Have you ever felt like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing in case they lash out? Have you ever been blamed for everything, even when it was clearly not your fault? If so, know this: you are not alone. And more importantly, you don't have to endure this anymore. In today's video, I'm going to help you see the truth, so you can finally take back your power. Once you understand what I'm about to reveal, you will never see a narcissist the same way again. And most importantly, they will never be able to control you again. Let's dive in. Once you realize that narcissists are not as invincible as they want you to believe, a bigger question arises. Why do they not only survive but thrive in today's society? Are we unknowingly creating a world where narcissism is not just tolerated, but celebrated? Look at how our world operates today. We live in an era where attention is the most valuable currency. In the digital landscape, fame can be converted into influence, money, and status. And those who master the art of self-promotion dominate the game. Social media has transformed every individual into a brand, a highly curated version of themselves, where the self is endlessly magnified and external validation becomes the fuel that sustains identity. Modern society not only allows them to hide their weaknesses, but also fosters an environment where narcissistic traits are encouraged and rewarded. A person can boast, distort reality, and project an illusion of success without anyone questioning its authenticity. In a culture where humility is often perceived as weakness and self-aggrandizement is seen as a sign of strength, narcissism doesn't just exist, it flourishes. One of the key factors driving the rise of narcissism is the increasing disconnection between people. In the past, humans lived in tight-knit communities where selfish, manipulative behavior would be quickly identified and dealt with. A narcissist couldn't hide for long if everyone around them saw their true nature. But in today's world, isolation is at an all-time high. Think about it. You could live in a city of millions and still feel alone. You might have hundreds of friends online, yet no real emotional connection. Each person is caught up in their own world, making it easier for narcissists to reinvent themselves without accountability. In a society where people are increasingly detached from one another, narcissists can move from group to group, creating entirely new personas, rebuilding their reputations, and escaping the consequences of their past actions. When there is no communal oversight, truth loses its power, and those who control the narrative win. Now, imagine an ancient tribal society. In such a setting, if someone attempted to manipulate, deceive, or prioritize their own interests over the group's well-being, they would be recognized and held accountable. No one could maintain a false image for long when everyone knew each other deeply and had long-term relationships that provided clarity about one another's character. But in today's world, where extreme individualism is taking center stage, a person can construct an entirely new persona, cut ties with their past, enter a new community, and continue their cycle of manipulation without being bound by the consequences of their previous actions. Instead of fostering healthy personal development, Radical individualism sometimes creates the perfect breeding ground for unchecked narcissism. However, no matter how much society shifts, narcissists still have weaknesses they don't want anyone to know about. While they may seem to have an advantage in a culture that glorifies arrogance and self-promotion, they still have vulnerabilities they cannot escape. And once you recognize these weaknesses, they can no longer control you. Now, let's uncover the 5 hidden weaknesses narcissists don't want you to know. Weaknesses that, once exposed, can bring their carefully constructed illusion crashing down. The first weakness. Narcissists are obsessed with their false self. When you look at a narcissist, the first thing you might notice is an incredibly confident, charismatic, and powerful person. They always seem to be in control, always appear to know more than everyone else. They may be successful, socially influential, and make you feel like they are truly special, as if they were born to dominate the world. But look deeper. What's really happening beneath the surface? The truth is, a narcissist cannot accept their true self. They don't have a stable identity. Everything they present to the world, the confidence, the power, the success they flaunt, is nothing more than an elaborate illusion. They have created a false self, a persona they desperately want others to believe in. And the most important part, they don't just deceive others, they deceive themselves. They construct their identity based on lies and exaggeration, not because they enjoy manipulation, but because they need it to survive. A narcissist cannot tolerate the idea of being ordinary, of having flaws like everyone else. To them, being normal is unacceptable. This is why they live in a world of delusion, where they are always the best, the smartest, the most superior. But to keep this illusion alive, they need a constant supply of external validation, admiration, recognition, envy from others. And this is their fatal weakness. If there is one thing a narcissist fears more than anything else, it is facing the truth about themselves. They have spent their entire lives running from it, covering it up, replacing it with a carefully crafted illusion. Their false self is a magnificent castle, decorated with success, attractiveness, and dominance. But the foundation of this castle is not reality, it is lies, delusion, and fear of exposure. They can live in this castle for a long time, as long as no one tries to tear it down. But if someone dares to question them, to challenge the story they have built, their entire world can come crashing down in an instant. You can see this in how they react to criticism. If you point out a mistake, they will immediately go on the attack, deny reality, or even invent stories to defend themselves. If they feel their image is under threat, they may become angry, aggressive, or even panic-stricken. But these reactions are not a sign of strength. They are signs of fear. Fear of having to face themselves without the mask they have so carefully crafted. Because their false self has no real foundation, narcissists depend on external validation to keep it alive. If no one is praising them, if no one is affirming their greatness, they begin to feel empty, anxious, and lost. This explains why they constantly seek attention, why they need to be the center of every conversation, why they become incredibly irritated when ignored. And this is their biggest weakness. They cannot generate their own sense of worth. A person with real self-esteem does not need the world to recognize their value. But narcissists have nothing inside except an illusion, so they need others to believe in that illusion, or else they fall apart completely. That is why, if you stop playing their game, if you refuse to admire them, if you refuse to let them control your emotions, they will become restless, unstable, and furious. And in that moment you will see the truth. They are not as strong as they want you to believe. Weakness 2. A narcissist's life is a lie. When you think of a narcissist, you probably picture someone who always has an answer for everything, exudes confidence, and appears to be in complete control. They might tell inspiring stories about their rise to success, the challenges they've overcome, and how they always come out victorious in every situation. But take a moment and ask yourself, are those stories even real? The terrifying truth is that a narcissist's entire life is just an act. They don't just create a false image, they construct an entirely fictional reality about themselves. Their narrative is carefully designed to make them seem more important, more admirable, or even more pitiful if that helps them manipulate others. They don't just lie about other people, they lie to themselves. They rewrite memories, alter the past to fit the story they want to tell, and have no hesitation in distorting reality to protect their image. The problem is, one lie always requires more lies to cover it up, and that is their greatest weakness. Imagine someone writing a novel about themselves, but instead of telling an honest story, they fabricate every chapter from beginning to end. Every scene is orchestrated to make them look like the winner, the smartest person in the room, or the helpless victim deserving of sympathy. They might exaggerate accomplishments they never achieved. They might paint their relationships as if they were always the ones who got hurt, while in reality, they were the ones causing harm. They might alter the past to make themselves seem extraordinary, deserving of admiration or pity. And the most dangerous part? They believe their own lies. Because if they stop believing in their own story, they'll have to face the truth. They are not as special as they claim to be, and for a narcissist, that reality is unbearable. Every fabricated story has one fatal flaw. The truth will eventually come out. No one can control everything forever. No one can deceive everyone for a lifetime, and that is the narcissist's greatest fear. They can never truly relax because they are always on guard, making sure no one notices the inconsistencies in their stories. They have to remember every detail of their lies, ensuring that no one uncovers the truth. This leaves them in a constant state of anxiety, always afraid that one day someone will put the pieces together and see them for who they really are. Have you ever noticed how defensive a narcissist becomes when questioned? If you dare to challenge their stories, they may lash out, become aggressive, furious, or even cut you off completely. That's because they cannot afford to let anyone shake the foundation of the world they've built. But here's the most important thing: you don't have to believe their story. A narcissist has no real power. They only have power when people believe their lies. When you begin to see that their life is nothing more than a web of deception, you free yourself from their manipulation. You'll realize they are not as strong, successful, or great as they want you to believe. They are simply someone desperately clinging to a false reality they've created. And when you see through that, you take back your power, because the truth never needs to be defended with rage. But lies will always crumble under the weight of reality. Weakness 3. Narcissists are actually naive and easily manipulated. When you think of a narcissist, you might imagine them as master manipulators. Always one step ahead, always in control of the situation. They seem knowledgeable, cunning, and capable of making others chase after them. But here's the great paradox. Narcissists are not as intelligent or sharp as they want you to believe. The truth is they are incredibly naive and easy to deceive, but they don't want anyone to realize it. Why? Because their arrogance blinds them to reality, making them easy victims of the very psychological games they love to play on others. They enjoy manipulating people, yet they themselves are extremely susceptible to being manipulated, because they are so consumed by their own inflated ego that they can't see reality objectively. And this is a weakness they never want you to discover. Narcissists believe they are the smartest person in the room, that they can read everyone like a book, and that they are always in control. They see themselves as psychological masterminds who can see right through others. But the truth is the exact opposite. They are easily fooled by flattery. If someone knows how to stroke their ego, they can be manipulated without even realizing it. They fail to recognize when they're being deceived. Because they think they're the smartest person in the room, they refuse to believe they've been tricked. Even when the evidence is undeniable, they place their trust in the wrong people. Obsessed with seeking admiration, they often fall into the traps of flatterers and opportunists who use them for their status or influence. Imagine a narcissist as a gambler who always believes they will win, no matter what reality suggests. They bet on people they think will serve them, but when everything falls apart, they are left confused, because in their mind, they could never lose. We often think of narcissists as skilled predators, always manipulating others for their own gain, but the truth is, they can also become prey, and sometimes they are even easier to manipulate than the people they target. This is because they cannot separate their illusions from reality. When someone tells them what they want to hear, they believe it instantly because they want it to be true. When someone praises them, they never question the person's motives, they just crave the admiration. When they are deceived, they cannot accept the truth because it would shatter the image they have of themselves. Think of a narcissist like someone staring into a mirror of illusions. They see a perfect version of themselves, but outside that mirror, reality tells a very different story. And while they are lost in admiration of their own reflection, others can easily take advantage of them. If there is one thing a narcissist fears most, it is being exposed. They want you to believe they are wise, sharp, and invincible, but once you realize that they too can be manipulated, they lose their power over you. Because once you know they can be deceived just like anyone else, you stop fearing them. You see that they are not psychological overlords, but rather individuals trapped in delusions of their own greatness, while, in reality, they have vulnerabilities just like anyone else. And when you understand this, they can no longer control you. Weakness 4. Narcissists are extremely sensitive, anxious, and easily hurt. When you look at a narcissist, you might think they are cold, emotionless, and untouchable. They seem unaffected by criticism, indifferent to other people's feelings, and act as if nothing can shake them. But that's just a performance. The truth is, they are more fragile than anyone else. They are not just sensitive, they are extremely vulnerable to the point where even an innocent remark can feel like a threat to them. They have no ability to handle failure or acknowledge their weaknesses because they lack a real identity to fall back on. Everything they do, every aspect of their persona is designed to protect the perfect mask they have created. And even though that mask may seem solid, underneath it is something incredibly fragile. They may manipulate, control, and tear others down, but when they themselves are criticized, they absolutely cannot handle it. They perceive any form of criticism, no matter how mild, as a direct attack. A normal person can accept mistakes, learn from them, and grow. But for a narcissist, admitting a mistake means destroying the world they have carefully built. They cannot accept that they have flaws, so they overreact to anything that threatens their ego. Imagine a narcissist as a beautifully glazed porcelain vase, polished and flawless on the outside, but hollow and brittle on the inside. They put on a confident front, but the truth is, they have no solid emotional foundation. Their self-esteem isn't built on real values. It depends entirely on how others perceive them. If their image is shaken, they have nothing left to hold on to. They are obsessed with admiration. Their sense of self-worth doesn't come from within, it comes from praise, approval, and external validation. When someone points out a flaw, they can't handle it because it shatters the illusion they've created. They have a harsh inner critic. No matter how arrogant they appear, they are constantly criticizing themselves. But instead of admitting this, they project their fears outward, turning them into anger, manipulation, and control over others. They want the world to believe they are strong, but even the slightest touch can cause them to crack. Because they have no healthy way to process negative emotions, they react with extreme behaviors. Explosive anger. If they feel criticized, they may yell, break things, or become aggressively defensive to reassert their power. Silent treatment. If they can't attack directly, they withdraw and ignore you completely, making you feel guilty as if you're the one in the wrong. Playing the victim. If they can't deny the truth, they turn everything into a sob story, making you and others feel sorry for them. Plotting revenge. If they can't react immediately, they wait for the right moment. They may twist the truth, manipulate others against you, or quietly seek ways to hurt you indirectly. None of these reactions are signs of strength. They are all signs of deep fear. Narcissists cannot bear the thought of not being perfect, so they will do anything to avoid facing reality, even if it means destroying the lives of those around them. A truly strong person does not fear criticism. They can listen, reflect, and grow from what they learn. But a narcissist is incapable of doing that. They cannot handle failure because they have built their entire existence on the idea that they are never wrong. They are terrified of what might happen if they have to confront their true selves, because deep down, they know that if they look too closely, they will find nothing but emptiness. And this is their most dangerous weakness, because once you realize that they are not as strong as they pretend to be, they can no longer control you. Once you understand that all their rage, mind games, and lies come from their fear of being exposed, you will stop fearing them. You will see that they are not powerful figures. They are simply fragile individuals, desperately running from themselves. And once you understand this, you take back your power. Weakness 5. Narcissists are completely dependent on others. If there's one thing a narcissist wants you to believe, it's that they are strong, independent, and don't need anyone. They act as if they can survive on their own, free from attachments or reliance on others. They love to present themselves as being in control, as the ones with power, the center of the universe. But the truth they never want you to know is this: they cannot exist without others feeding them energy. A narcissist's entire existence depends on how others perceive them. They need admiration, validation, and attention the way an addict needs a fix. Without it, they spiral into panic, despair, and confusion. They want you to think they are strong, but in reality, they are weaker than anyone, because they have no real inner self to rely on. Someone with genuine self-esteem doesn't need external validation to feel worthy. They know who they are, they have internal values and principles, and no matter what happens in the world around them, they can stand firm. But narcissists don't have that. Their self-worth does not come from within, it is entirely based on how others see them. If they are praised, they feel powerful. If they are ignored, they feel empty and lost. They don't have a real identity, only an image they must protect at all costs. And because of this, they need a constant supply of admiration, desire, and even envy from others. Imagine a narcissist as a blazing fire, fierce, bright, and seemingly powerful, but only as long as it is constantly fueled. They may shine intensely, but without wood to burn, they are nothing. If people admire them, they feel like the center of the universe. If they are ignored, they feel invisible, worthless, and non-existent. If someone criticizes them, they cannot accept it, because in their mind, their entire existence depends on how others see them. Any criticism is a direct threat to their survival. This is why they always need someone to manipulate, someone to fuel their ego, someone to help them maintain the illusion of their greatness. They don't want you to realize this, because if you understand that they need you more than you need them, you will no longer be under their control. A narcissist may act strong and independent, but the reality is that they cannot stand isolation. They don't know how to be alone, because without others to reflect their image back at them, they have no idea who they are. That's why they fear abandonment, panic when ignored, and will do anything to keep people within their orbit, whether through charm, mind games, or even threats. They need you, but they don't want you to know that. Once you understand that narcissists are completely dependent on others, you will see that they are not as powerful as they want you to believe. They need your attention, but you don't have to give it to them. They need to control you, but you can choose not to be manipulated. And when you stop feeding them the energy they crave, they collapse under their own emptiness. They want you to think they are invincible, but when there's no one left to uphold their illusion, they are left with nothing but absolute emptiness. And once you see through that, you take back control of your own life. Can a narcissist change? After uncovering the core weaknesses of a narcissist, a natural question arises: can they change? Is there a way to help them break free from the toxic patterns they've been trapped in their whole life? The answer isn't simple, but it's important, especially if you have a relationship with a narcissist, whether as a partner, parent, sibling, or even a close friend. You might believe that if you love them enough, if you're patient enough, if you help them see their mistakes, they will change. You may hope that by pointing out their toxic behaviors and treating them with compassion, they will learn to become a better person. But before you invest all your energy into saving them, you need to know a crucial truth. A narcissist will only change if they want to change, and that rarely happens. Can a narcissist change? In theory, yes. But in reality, it's extremely rare. Narcissists are not like people with ordinary psychological struggles, who recognize their flaws and seek to improve. They don't believe they need to change. Remember, their entire identity is built on a false self, a carefully crafted defense mechanism designed to mask deep internal fragility. If they acknowledge that they have a problem, that they hurt others, that they are not as perfect as they believe, that would mean tearing down the entire image they have built, and for them, that's not just a minor adjustment, it's a total collapse. Instead of facing reality, they will do everything to protect their image. They will deny, blame, manipulate, or even attack you if you try to make them see their faults. Additionally, control is central to their life. If they change, they would have to give up the power they hold over others, and that terrifies them. When does a narcissist change? Although rare, there are cases where a narcissist starts to recognize their issues and seeks change, but this never happens because someone else wants them to change. It only happens when they are forced into a corner. Some situations that might push a narcissist toward self-reflection include losing all sources of narcissistic supply, when no one is left to admire, cater to, or tolerate their manipulation. They may face an identity crisis, experiencing a major life disruption. A devastating failure or a loss of power may force them to reflect, realizing their usual tactics no longer work. If they start losing friends, relationships, or even jobs because of their behavior, they may be pressured to adapt, wanting to change for themselves. This is the rarest scenario, but the only one that leads to lasting transformation. If they realize they are destroying their own life. Even in these cases, change is not quick. It requires deep psychological therapy, constant effort, and a level of self-awareness that most narcissists lack. The most important truth: you cannot change them. You cannot heal them with love. No matter how kind, patient, or understanding you are, if they don't want to change, they won't. You are not responsible for their awakening. They may have lived in their illusion for years, even decades. If you try to pull them out, they will resist with everything they have. You must protect yourself. If being in a relationship with a narcissist is destroying you, you have the right to walk away. You don't have to endure manipulation, abuse, or emotional harm just because you hope they might change someday. You can have compassion for them. You can recognize that they, too, are victims of their own past. You can see that their manipulation comes from deep-seated fear, but that doesn't mean you can save them. Narcissists don't need someone to fix them. They need a real reason to change on their own, and most will never find that reason. The best thing you can do for yourself is to accept reality, set boundaries, and prioritize your mental well-being. Sometimes, the only change you can control is your own. Walking away from toxic relationships, rebuilding your self-esteem, and learning to recognize red flags so you never fall into a narcissist trap again. And that is real power. Now you know the weaknesses narcissists desperately try to hide, the fears they never want anyone to uncover. They may project an image of invincibility, intelligence, and control, but beneath that facade lies fragility, anxiety, and complete dependence on others. They cannot survive without admiration, they cannot handle failure, and they cannot face the truth that they are not as perfect as they pretend to be. And the most important thing to remember, they only have power when you don't know the truth. Once you see through them, the illusion crumbles. Once you stop falling for their psychological tricks, they lose control over you. Once you realize they need you more than you need them, you reclaim your freedom and power. You cannot change a narcissist, but you can change how you respond to them. You no longer have to live in fear, no longer have to question your worth, no longer have to be trapped in their manipulation. Truth will always be the strongest weapon, and now you have it in your hands. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe so we can continue uncovering the truths that help you live stronger, wiser, and freer than ever before.